Hello and welcome to Adaptation, the vlog for film adaptations and the original material they're based on. I'm your host Jessica Dunn, and as you may have guessed, or not, from this epic opening shot, this week we are focusing on voiceovers. What is probably equally obvious from my evident lack of skill in this respect is that our hosts will be listing our choices for voiceovers in films and television that were done badly, horribly, epically, awful. And I'm not just talking about this vlog. Note to self, that doesn't really work without video. If you've listened to our podcast at all, you may have already picked up that voiceovers are far from our host's favorite way to tell a story. This is because it's so difficult to do them well and so easy for a voiceover to come across as cheesy or just plain stupid. So we had rather a wealth of choice for our list this week. But let's start off with a film that inspires comparatively minor judgment and not too much of a rant. Disney's Maleficent definitely had its ups and downs, but overall our hosts were fairly positive about the movie in general. One of its downsides, however, was definitely the voiceover. Not necessarily that it was done badly, per se. I mean, neither was it done well, but as you'll see, there are much worse options. Rather, our objection to this plot device was really in the choice of voiceover narrator. Aurora? Really? It seemed a bit trite to give the fair-haired princess the voice of the story itself, when the moody darkness of the villain backstory was the movie's strength. Why put Sleeping Beauty back in the spotlight? And while we're on the subject of golden-haired princesses, the 2015 adaptation of Cinderella also made our list for its voiceover. This is a perfect example of a film where the voiceover mechanic was necessary. I mean, it was a fairy tale after all, and made complete sense in theory, but fell flat in execution. For a voiceover to work properly, the script must be telling the audience of things they wouldn't know otherwise. Not telling us verbatim what we have already or will see on screen. Now, next on our list is a bit of a conundrum. A few of our hosts have decided that the voiceover in George of the Jungle belongs on this list because it was trying too hard to be funny, and they didn't particularly like how the narrator addressed the characters and interacted with them directly. However, allow me to interject here to say that I love the George of the Jungle voiceover, and for these very reasons. It's silly, yes, but no more ridiculous than the rest of the film. Yes. Even at Adaptation, we do disagree on these lists. But the next two voiceovers had no disagreement whatsoever. First of all, we have The Last Airbender, that ultimate stinker of adaptations. And for the life of me, I can't figure out how they failed so badly with the voiceover in this film. I mean, you had the same opening script as the absolutely spine-tingling animated series, and yet in the live-action version, the vocal inflection is all wrong, and the periodic narration throughout relies too much on telling the story, rather than supporting what's happening on screen. The voiceover narration was rather used as a way to speed up the events, copying out the best parts of the tale. Last, and very definitely least on our list, is the true master of terrible voiceovers, Twilight. As in, the whole film series, but we can equally focus on the train wreck that is the first film voiceover. One of the most hit-and-miss things about book-to-film adaptations is trying to capture much of the writer's language and inflection itself. We usually appreciate the attempt, a nod towards the original material, but in this case, of one thing we are absolutely certain. Kristen Stewart woodenly quoting lines directly from the book makes for awkward, cringe-worthy cuts. Almost as awkward as that elevator scene in New Moon, am I right? But at least that was intentional. So that wraps up this week's list for voiceovers done wrong. I'm proud to say that this vlog didn't even make a blip on our bad voiceover radar. Though that's probably because none of the other hosts knew that I'd be doing this. I know we've missed a lot from the list. I mean, we can only fit in so many, so feel free to leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments section. Also, if you want to check out vlogs with our smiling faces, rather than random shots of my bookcase or my walk to work, hit subscribe for our monthly videos. We can also be found on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and our podcast can be downloaded on iTunes. Thanks for tuning into Adaptation, and until next time,
Luke, I am your uncle.
Doesn't have the same ring to it.